Schertz, Texas is arguably the biggest suburb in San Antonio. It's also right next to New Braunfels, and it's on the world famous 35 corridor, which is the corridor that has the biggest housing boom of Texas for 2022. This is Trade with the Cavalry Group, brokered by Real. Let's dive into what Schertz, Texas is, what's in it, the history behind it, where's a good place to live, what are the different neighborhoods. Let's break it down into different sections. So the northern part of Schertz, which is right on the 35 corridor, is the newest developments. Those houses are built in the early 2000s, 2010. They are the nicest, they have a lot of space. It was intended to be a little bit bigger lots than the San Antonio area. It's also not in a flood zone on the northern part of Schertz in this corridor that I'm showing you right now. The oldest part of Schertz is going to be by 78 and 1518, 3009. This Main Street area is called Aviation Heights. Aviation Heights was actually built originally by the Schertz family back in the 1920s, circa 1930s somewhere. When the Schertz family, they were actually developers, so they owned a lot of the farmland in Schertz, and Aviation Heights was one of the original developments right next to Randolph Air Force Base. Those houses are still around, and the median house price in the Schertz Aviation Heights area is around $175,000, which is really good. The downside of it, it's in a 100-year floodplain. Now, it's very rare that it floods in that area, but it is designated in the 100-year floodplain, and everybody in that area has to pay flood insurance if you have a mortgage. Aviation Heights is zoned for the Schertz and Cibolo ISD School District. It's right next to the YMCA and the VFW for veterans. It is an amazing location, and Main Street in Schertz is right around the Aviation Heights area. You have very historic, very beautiful Victorian homes and homes built in the 20s, 30s that are renovated. They have huge lots, and it's easy access to 78, which brings you to San Antonio. It can also bring you out to New Braunfels area and further north, which is near Austin. I would say the Aviation Heights area of Schertz is a very desirable area because there is plans for renovation of the Schertz downtown area, which is Main Street. You have a lot of great barbecue restaurants. They really want to build it up kind of like the New Braunfels feel, where you have ice houses, you have restaurants, and it's not so commercialized. It looks like a Texas old town. So that feel is definitely going to bring more investors, more tourism to the Schertz area. The other part of Schertz is going to be the rural part of Schertz, which is the far south side of Schertz, closer to the I-10 corridor. So there was recently a really important article that says the south end of Schertz still has 100-acre working ranches, and it's a very rural part of Schertz. They intended it that way. Back in the early 2000s, they zoned for these 100-acre ranches to continue to produce farms and different farm and ranch type businesses, and have been around for many, many years. A recent article is saying that Schertz is now wrestling with the land use. You have half of city council and half of the public are saying that they don't want more housing developments. Although we need it, we need different planned communities because the demand is there, and Schertz is a perfect area for its location, its proximity to Austin, San Antonio, New Braunfels, and it's a very, very good school district. In this article, it's saying that they had a marathon meeting over 4 or 5 hours where Schertz City Council was talking to the builder Scott Felder, who wanted to build 1,000 homes in the Schertz area. The 5-hour meeting, basically it was torn between this 1,000 home development where half of the city council wants the expansion for growth and income producing more property taxes, but the other half wants to keep the farm and ranch style homes in the south side of Schertz. Currently, the land use could be used for agricultural conservation, consisting of minimum 5-acre lots for farm and ranch use. But it can also be intended for estate neighborhood, which are lots that are at least a half-acre in size. Now, I'm assuming builders like Scott Felder does not want to do half-acre lots because there's much more profit in 1,000 homes in very, very small lots close to each other than having to sell half-acre lots. The land is definitely worth building as many houses as possible, but is that really worth it? You can have more congestion. So it's controversial. I would like to see half-acre lots that there's more space around people, and you are in the suburbs, so you're not close to the city of San Antonio or New Braunfels in the sense that it's not down the street. It's about a 25-minute drive to San Antonio and about a 20-minute drive to New Braunfels. The last 2 years, the city of Schertz did approve 2 large land use plans. One is Saddlebrook Ranch, which has 636 houses. The other is Carmel Ranch. It's 131 homes. And that was approved by the Schertz City Council. So there is development in Schertz, but they want even more development because the demand is there, especially in the I-35 corridor. Schertz median house price is around $305,000, which is a little bit less than the San Antonio median house price, which is about $325,000. So the main business area in Schertz is gonna be 3009 and the 35 area. 3009 has pretty much everything you need in a commercial development. It has nice wide lanes to get to 35 and also to get to I-10. I-10 is a quick shot all the way to Houston and also very close to San Antonio, and there's a little bit less congestion in my opinion to go from I-10 Schertz all the way down to San Antonio. Overall, Schertz is a very good suburb of San Antonio. You have the growth, you have the demand, and you still have a city council that wants to keep the rural type feel that Schertz originally had, but you do have major businesses like Scott Felder and other home builders that are trying to gather up these 100-acre farms so they can build these master plan communities. I-35 was named in Zillow in our previous video I did to be one of the biggest booms in the United States, one of the top 10 cities. Overall, Schertz has a really good school district. There's private schools, public schools were highly rated, and even in the moms group, there's comments where they would recommend private schools and public schools, and they have nothing but great things to say. This is from the residents of Schertz, the actual people who live here that are critiquing these schools, and they're saying it's very good. Some of the great schools they're talking about is Founders Private School. There's a science school that just opened up in Cibolo. There's Corbett Elementary School, which is really good. You have Steele High School, which is actually closer to Cibolo, and you have Clements High School, which is right in Schertz and is very popular here locally. I really like Schertz. Schertz, when you drive to these communities, you'll see people take care of their yards. It's a lot of pride in Schertz. There's a lot of school pride, and it's one of those suburbs that has everything you really need. You don't really need to go into San Antonio or New Braunfels or Austin or any of the other big cities because we are one of the largest suburbs, arguably, and everything is here and there's not too much congestion. The only downside of Schertz I could think of is that there was only one H-E-B and there's a smaller grocery store on 1518. We could use another nice H-E-B or Whole Foods would be nice, but everything else is pretty good. If there's anything else you love about Schertz, please drop it in the comments. This is Trey with the Cavalry Group, brokered by Real. Thanks for watching. See you on the next video.